Welcome back, everybody, to the Intel Extreme Masters Gyeonggi. We're in Group C, and we just saw Dark take out Gyeonggi, and now it's going to be time for Classic against ByuL. I'm joined by Roddy. It's going to be a good one, isn't it?
It's going to be really good. I'm finally going to get some protos over here in Korea. I've been waiting 6 years for this, Johan. Just notice, you look so much taller than me. I know you've been to the gym a little bit, but come on, like, this is ridiculous. Why am I so small?
I do what I do.
Okay, that's it, guys. Like, if I look tired tomorrow, that's because all night long I'll be in the gym. I'll be hanging on one arm, catching up starting today, Johan.
A pretty sick PvZ coming up, though. Like, between these two, they've been tearing it up in the qualifiers. Classic qualified very easily. ByuL beats Neeb very handily as well in those qualifiers. He lost to Hero, but the games were fairly close, and they just have great styles. Like, you can tell this is going to be a good matchup, an aggressive one, and I kind of know how both play. I'm pretty sure we're going to see fireworks, so super looking forward to this one. Especially, like, again, we're playing on the new patch on which we haven't seen that many matches yet.
You know, I didn't even do any research, like, particularly about the next thing I'm going to say, but I just remember, I think these two guys played against each other in the round of 16 of the global playoffs, right, in 2015 back then. So not the last global playoffs, obviously, but the year before at BlizzCon. I'm pretty sure that they went up against each other, and I remember Classic looking so incredibly good back then in super late game PvZ that even me as a Protoss player in Heart of the Swarm, I looked at his style and I was like, okay, that's actually unbeatable. There's just nothing. There's nothing that ByuL can do. You know, like the games on Terraform, I remember he looked so flawless. So I'm pretty sure that ByuL didn't forget about that very big series back then, and maybe he can get his revenge here. I totally agree with you, Johan. It should be a very fun clash of styles, and should be a lot of aggressive plays as well.
Yeah, let's take a look at our players here that are going to be playing against one another in this matchup. We've got ByuL here on screen. Recently expressed that he was looking for a team, and he's just a very strong player altogether that kind of started playing very late. I think he transitioned just before the Kespa teams did. He joined Fnatic back then, and he moved into the Fnatic team house. I was living with this guy, and he wasn't that impressive at first. You know, I mentioned that often, but like he was one of those guys that was laddering a lot, had like a, I don't know, 52% win rate or something. His nickname was like Park, all caps. I was like, who the hell is that guy? And the next thing you know, he's just starting to play super well, starts winning maps in GSTL and kind of carrying the team, and now he's considered one of the better Zergs, I would say, in the world.
Yeah, I casted him a long time as well because he participated in WCS America back then, and I believe that the best run he had was a finals appearance where back then he lost against Polk, but everybody lost against Captain America, you know, in WCS America. But that was pretty much the rise of ByuL, but he got so much better when he finally went back to Korea, and he just showed the entire world that he can't just win outside of Korea, but actually within Korea he could compete as well.
And there is Classic, one of the Protosses that I think get consistently underrated. He goes very far in a lot of these tournaments. He's already had quite a bit of experience in those Intel Extreme Masters. I think in Cologne he went far. 2015 BlizzCon, you were mentioning his run where he also went very, very far and already beat ByuL there.
Yeah, man, this guy definitely underrated pretty much all the time. I would like to call him like the Korean Neeb, even though he transformed before Neeb. But of course, once upon a time, Classic was a Terran player as well. I picked him on my Pro League fantasy team back then, and he didn't deliver. But you know, if you would have picked him later when he was a Protoss, he would have definitely done a lot better. As this guy, he has been one of the absolute best Protosses in Korea for a long time now. This would be an awesome moment for him to also show the world, like, hey, it's Legacy of the Void. This may not have been totally my year yet, but I'm still Classic, and I'm still pretty damn good at this game.
All right, here we go. First map, Vanny Research Station, starting in the bottom side of the map, playing as the Red Zerg is, of course, ByuL.
Vani, an interesting first map here for this ZvP. Of course, on the top side of Vani, we're looking at the main base of our awesome Protoss player. Definitely a fan, and hopefully he can create many more this tournament. It is Classic.
And he was rocking that hoodie plus jacket setup in the booth. What is going on with this? Am I missing? Is it 0 degrees in those booths? Or like, why is everybody wearing jackets?
It's definitely 0 degrees outside, Johan.
Yeah.
It's like, man, Korea.
Have they finally met my demands of installing air conditioners in those booths, that these players are feeling cold in them and wearing these jackets? Because I don't know, like playing StarCraft in a big jacket, you feel limited with your movement, but somehow these guys are still playing pretty darn well. Like Dark last game, he was wearing like, what, 2 jackets as well, like a hoodie and a jacket, and still playing really well.
It's really funny, right, how some pro players are incredibly paranoid about everything that feels slightly different, and the other guy can just play with a hoodie and a jacket. It's like
wake up from a nap after eating pizza and like
Zero chance that I could perform or that I could even select a single probe in those conditions. Either way, we're going to see Classic. He will scout the fact that ByuL went for pull before hedge. I think it's kind of a weird opening on Vani because, you know, this is one of those ideal expand first maps, sometimes even, you know, double expand, because most Protoss players will like to go Nexus first here, but that was actually not the case. Classic went for Gateway before Nexus, but very, very safe, conservative openings on both sides on a map that normally favors greed.
Well, what do we know about Classic in PvC? Well, he loves oracles and he loves adepts. So a lot of the time you're going to see both of them coming out of him. He likes to go into carrier sometimes, especially if he's already on Stargate, which he is on a lot of the time. Whereas ByuL, when he played on this map against Nib, I believe this was the map where he proxied a hatchery and did a mass spine and into mass link flood into the main, with which he was successful, but not going to try this one against Classic.
Those builds are really hard to deal with on this map. Even if you scout it, like a couple times it was like, I've got 3 cannons, there is 0 chance I lose. And then they suddenly ran by and it was like, oh my god. You see Classic being very relentless here with his scouting, wants to make sure there's absolutely nothing that he misses. So even though ByuL's opening at first didn't look that economic because it was pool before hatch, then he did go for another hatch, gasless. So there is a lot of potential in the first and perhaps even second adept of Classic. But this is one of these moments, right, where it really all comes down to control. This Ling is actually doing a very useful job here for ByuL because it's buying a lot of time, making sure that this adept does not start working on the probes.
Yeah, Classic, as ironic as it is, he's very different than most other Protosses in that I haven't seen him open too often with the Dark Templar or Archon drop that most Protosses do. Usually out of him it's either a Stargate opener and Oracle into Adepts, and then sometimes he goes Void Ray and stuff behind this, or Resonating Glaives with a lot of Adepts attack. But actually in this game so far it's looking like he might be doing that Dark Shrine build.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed almost, Johan, because I feel like obviously it's such a good build and so many Protoss players love it, but you know, if he busts it out on like, let's say like an Echo or whatever, then I'll be like, okay, I can understand why. But on this map I would have loved to see something different, you know, open up with Resonating Glaives and throw double Stargate behind it and show us some bloody carriers, you know, that's what I want to see on Vani because it's such a good map for it, I think, if you make it up there.
He's gonna save them for Daybreak, man.
Yeah.
Map 2.
As long as we see some carriers, I'll be happy.
He actually did it 4 days ago, I think it was, in StarCraft against Solar. And then he got mass Hydralisk attacked and died. So maybe a bad memory for sure. But War Prism now on the way at 3 more gates as well. And we're going to be seeing DTs being warped in as soon as this War Prism gets midway across the map. You think DTs or Archons?
I think he might test the waters with Dark Templars, you know, just see one time if there is a spore, but definitely not going to go crazy with them, won't split them up between multiple bases. He's just going to see if he can do something with the Dark Templars and then probably morph them, or maybe just straight up morph. Like, it doesn't really matter, right? The most important thing is that you don't go too crazy with your Prism and don't end up losing it. If you end up losing it, you really set yourself pretty far back, and we already see the spores going down.
Yeah, ByuL making sure he's ready for this. I'm sure like the Quints obviously going to be usually the most important part out of defending well against this. He sees the Prism as well and exactly where it is. Roach is going to be very important. You need to have a right number. Most Zergs will say 10 is about the right number, where like if these Archons get dropped on top of Roaches, they will get sniped very quickly. And the third base about to start there for Classic. Who behind this? I really wonder how he's going to transition.
That's a pretty sick fake out there. He's going to fly the Prism, and
but that means the Prism cannot pick up those DTs.
No, you got to be careful. But there is no overseer. He can just stay outside of range. Maybe he can work on the Roach Warren. Do you think that's possible?
There is one overseer morphing.
Well, 4 Dark Templars kill a Roach Warren pretty fast. There are a lot of Queens here though, so you got to be sure about this one, Classic. And he is. He gets the Roach Warren. Well done.
Oh, he left one guy behind.
Oh.
Rip.
Seems alright to me. I think it's an alright.
Your sacrifice was not in vain.
No.
Did he remake the Roach Warren in the same spot? No. Oh man. Oh, actually one of the ZTs gets one volleyed here by all these Roaches, so 2 Dark Templars being sniped.
Yeah, maybe in the end it's not very good. If you take a look at the work account, 64 against 46. I think it's safe to say that Classic was hoping to do a tiny bit more. I don't know how I feel about this build on this map, Johan. Like, I know it's a super solid build all around, but I really don't think that this is necessarily the best map for it, because you got to be so damn careful with your Prism. There will always be creep on the north side of the Zerg's base, so that forces you to be even more careful. I don't know, I don't think there's that much potential with this build on this map. Like, Newkirk would probably be better, or Echo.
Yeah, it really didn't do much there, and now we see Classic going to Blink. It's always the big question there. Do we see a 3-base timing with Lola Blink Stalkers, or does he actually transition into something like Disruptor and maybe a second Robo? But yeah, these Archons will try to be a little bit aggressive. They don't do anything there. ByuL's defense has been flawless.
Well, be careful when you say that, Todd, because that's when an Archon gets dropped and kills 7 drones. But no, you're spot on. So far, he really hasn't taken any damage at all, other than the Roach Warren. But it's not the most expensive loss in the world, and he had a phenomenal economy during all of that. So you gotta be happy here if you're ByuL, man. You can see a lot of Hydras on the way, resonating, or Roach Speed is on the way.
This is the fakest move out I've ever seen.
Yeah, pretty sad looking Protoss.
He's like, hey, Overlord, I'm attacking. Please make units. Please panic.
ByuL's like, well, I have 66 runs. I was planning on making units. Don't worry. Snoot's favorite number.
66.
Choo-choo. Straight to the bank. I mean, this Zerg army is going to be very big, and I'm definitely quite worried for Classic. Like, Classic is going to have to buy time, but he doesn't have Resonating Glaives, he doesn't have Charge, so I'm not sure if he's going to go for additional Warpins here or not.
I think he's just going to mass units out of all these gates. Like, there's no transition in sights. Like, and obviously, as I say that, he's meant to drop a Templar Archive.
Oh, he's going to be careful with his Prism, as ByuL is going to try to intercept it. That would be a nice little pick-off, a very expensive one. I don't know, man. This feels like kind of an... Well, I mean, he got unlucky. I wouldn't say uninspiring build, but it really feels like nothing has truly gone Classic's way yet, while ByuL is just gearing up for this one big, powerful attack.
This could play right into Classic's hand if ByuL actually attacks into overcharged pylons, force fields, and like this much gateway units. Like the fact that Classic's not taking, maybe he's just anticipating ByuL to mass, because ByuL is known to be one of those very aggressive Zergs as well that loves to attack. And with the start that he had, like, I wouldn't blame him if he just masked and then try and make a difference with a massive, massive attack. But I think ByuL, okay, he sends in a link, sees the size of the army of the Protoss. He should know right now that he can't fight this just yet. So I think if he just takes 2 Lurkers, realizing that there is no Disruptor on the way, he might be able to do really well. Because if you get, like, say, like 6 Lurkers against this army, you're golden. Like, you can't lose the fight, it feels like, almost.
No, I agree. And it also, there is no need for him to attack, right?
Don't
He's
do
on
it.
4 bases against 3. You really don't have to commit here. You got to be careful, ByuL. Maybe just baits out a couple of Photon Overcharge. Maybe he's faking out here as well.
It's funny, if Classic knew like what's going on, I think he'd be the one trying to engage into this army. I actually wonder if he's going to be able to realize that there are Lurkers on the way. Like, ideally, you'd want to scout that Lurker then.
Ooh, look at these Hydras. Put on your binoculars.
Oh!
See it.
He gets away. You want to keep that alive, actually. If you have that prism behind your army, that's what you reinforce with.
10 Banelings morphing now as well, and 42 additional links. ByuL perhaps a tiny bit worried about his army. Lurker then is almost done, but not completely done just yet. And without Lurkers, it could be kind of scary to face that many Stalkers, with +2 finishing up as well. 33 Stalkers,
Yeah, Classic's gonna posture forward, but there's no prism, I think, with this army. Like, how is he gonna reinforce? He's gonna get a full surround. Force fields go down, but most of these units are still attacking. Baneling's not going to be able to reach this army anytime soon, though.
Yeah, there is no Bane speed, so even though that looked like a decent engagement there, it wasn't perfect. But ByuL's buying time, right? Look at the production tab. 14 more Hydras on the way. Bane
there it
speed
is.
is being researched. Okay.
The low HP prism.
Man, I feel like Classic needs something else, don't you? Like, this feels very Heart of the Swarmish-like, where, you know, Lilba was able to make this always work. But there's a reason why back then there were no Lurkers. Right now there are no Lurkers.
There were no Ravagers
either.
to break force fields. There's not many force fields available, but if he takes a really good fight, like, it's all about the engagement here, I think. Let's see these force fields.
It has to be phenomenal.
ByuL was trying to bait them.
Don't forget that ByuL is quite a bit richer as well.
Oh, one of the sentries died before dropping some of these force fields. Blink back are going to be ignited. A lot of those Banelings are trapped in the middle of this Zerg army, so ByuL's going to get chased away here from this base.
Yeah, it's a beautiful split on all these Stalkers, but you got to be careful. You got to make sure you don't overcommit. Bane speed is still not ready yet, so he's actually sniping a lot of these Banelings, and Classic is going to take at least for a split second there an army advantage for the first time in a very, very long time in this game. But multiple Lurkers are morphing now, and don't forget, that was not the only fort base. There is a gold as well. Lurkers will finally participate now. Sick pickup.
Sick. Yeah. And he can just pull back from there, try and posture towards the goal base, tech to Disruptor, take a fourth base. Like, Classic can do everything he wants here in this game.
Maybe he doesn't have a fort yet, and now
two more
Robos. You need a Robo Bay as well, buddy, unless he just wants to go
maybe
Mass Immortal.
And Chargeload and Archons.
Yeah. He gets the Lurker there and almost gets the second one too. These Stalkers doing a pretty good job in focus firing. But you gotta be so careful. Lurkers do so much damage against these Stalkers.
Yeah, those Blinkbacks, they've been perfect here, pretty
Wow.
much so far. Classic really hasn't lost much. Those are patience blink here to try and snipe one units.
Man, it's so bizarre, right? That these guys, they like to play without disruptors. Like, I've seen it in the past. He's getting a Templar Archons now as well. Just a mass Immortal Archon.
I think maybe it just doesn't know where he's at exactly. It's economically and in tech, like up against the Zerg. Like if you take Disruptor now and like there's Vipers on the way, then suddenly it becomes another game. You need to get High Templars, but then by the time you get them, Zerg has the next tech available, right?
Yeah, but I saw it on the tournament as well, where they just really prefer this, right? They just somehow prefer to have mass Archon, mass Immortal against Lurkers. And I really feel that the Disrupt is just working a little bit better. Charge is not done yet.
Yeah, this might be a big mistake
Yeah,
to skip on Disruptor, because ByuL, I think, realizes this as well. Like he thinks even if there are Disruptors right now, he needs to hit a timing, so he's gonna go forward here with his attack. The Lurkers are not attacking right now, but the Hydralisks were dealing decently here with this army.
A very nice hold position control of the army of Classic there though, right? Because if he just attacks move, he runs into the Lurkers. But really good move with hold position, and at the same time still the majority of his units were always fighting, and that is a lot harder than it sounds, guys. And
I like this counter attack too, because he has too many Stalkers if you think about it. They're not the greatest units against what the Zerg has in the Lurkers, so just sacrificing some of them to buy himself a little bit of time.
And get that Immortal count up, eh? That's what he truly wants and needs. I still think it's very risky. Oh, those Lurkers are quite exposed. If you would have jumped on
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
it. But there is no... Oh my god, well, the reinforcements were coming. Gotta be so careful. It's really hard to fight into this many Lurkers. I don't know how many Lurkers it is exactly, but it looks like 7. Okay, that's a lot, but it's still doable for Immortals. But you need a perfect
ByuL's trying
engagement.
to surround this army completely to not let it escape, and I think Classic's gonna be forced into this fight here. There's so many Lurkers clumped up, and they do so much damage to these units when they are together.
It's actually a very nice split though on this Protoss army. I think there is a chance.
Oh, he
here.
sniped the Observer!
No Observer? Oh my god.
He must have sniped it here. There's an Overseer and a bunch of Hydralisks, so ByuL gets to make sure he doesn't lose these units right now.
Man, ByuL got fortunate there because he really had nothing left. And yes, Lurkers are amazing, but if they're that exposed, if they're that naked, then a couple of Charge Lords and Immortals can rip through them rather fast. Sniping that Observer was massive.
2-1 upgrades for Classic, +2 melee and +1 melee and +2 missile for ByuL.
I think that ByuL should chill out a little bit and get more Lurkers. You know, like 7, 8 Lurkers is nice, but if you fight against an army that really doesn't have any disruptors at all, we see Vipers on the way too, indeed, and that's a very big
against
transition.
Protoss that's only getting Archons and no High Templar for feedbacks. Classic's gonna engage with a lot of Immortals into this army here. Might be forced to pull back in a second. Yeah, he's not. You can't engage against this many Lurkers when they're clumped up just because the pure damage that they do. Against the Protoss army when it's together is just too much.
It's a really sick game here on Vani where both players made a lot of good choices, and it was a very rough early game I felt for Classic, but he turned it around, put up a really good fight. But now I'm still kind of digging ByuL's position, but at the same time one overextension, one mistake, and this game can absolutely still swing in Classic's way.
Get ready for the abducts, Roddy.
Yeah, that's gonna be painful. Close your eyes, Protoss brothers. If you close your eyes, it never happened, Todd.
Boop!
No, it didn't exist. Woo! Classic actually thought about going for it for a second. Loses 2 Immortals there, obviously an expensive pickup, but he still has 8 of them.
An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. So you don't want to attack into this many Lurkers, bro.
Archon gets picked up there as well.
I feel like against this you need to be across the map counter-attacking, but then he would lose his base super fast and ByuL could just walk back and defend as well. So it's just kind of like an impossible situation. I think Classic might have to lose patience and attack into this.
Yeah, he's gonna drop a couple of Immortals as well. The Archons just disappear, and a lot of these Immortals lose their shields or barriers very, very quickly. And the Zerg army is still alive, still standing strong, and at the same time a couple of Lings are working on the probes. Sick game by ByuL, man. That's really solid, patient, yet aggressive execution. And I know that sounds weird, but he's doing all of it, Todd.
Yeah. And Classic has to evacuate that middle line on that 4th base.
Calculated aggression. Wow, some nice dots there as well.
Perfect. Snipes Immortals, those very important units that can deal with the Lurkers, and Classic's downs to last forces. ByuL has done it here on Vani Research Station. After a great game, but this is what we expected.
Yeah.
Action-packed, back and forth, fights, move outs on the map.
Oh man, I really wonder how this would have played out if Classic would have gone for Disruptors. Like double Robo, yeah, the extra double Robo, so basically triple Robo. Instead go 1 Robo and then 1 more Robo Bay, and maybe 2-4 Disruptors could have turned it around a little bit. Of course,
you can play this style if you're Classic, but then you need to posture for a counter-attack. But GG, he's called, and ByuL will take map number 1 here on Vani Research Station.
yeah, he had that Prism right, but at a certain point he just got a little scared of sending it across the map because Hydralisks were left behind to deal with that Prism. I still think that Classic played very well in this game. Like, I don't necessarily agree with the late game choice, but I also think that's a style preference. So who am I to say like how Classic should play? You know, if he has a lot more success with Immortal Arc.
He never scouted the goal base. Like after he sniped the 4th base on the left-hand side, usually the next step would be to check for the other base that could be taken on the map to make sure that it's not there. It was up already, there was a lot of drones, and he was very exposed. Like it's a base that's very easy to attack on this map. If you just move to the right and attack into it, I mean, Zerg's on lurkers, right? You don't have to attack into lurkers. If he's in position, you pull back. So I'm a little bit surprised because in my mind, that was what was going to happen. Yeah. But Classic he started playing really shy from the moment he saw lurkers. I don't know what's been happening to him on ladder, but he must have been pretty scary because...
I mean, he was very, very heavy on the Stark account, right? There was this one moment as well.
But you won't fight, right, against lurkers. You just blink back or move out, right?
I mean, there was this one moment where he also lost the Observer, and I think if he wouldn't have lost the Observer, maybe he could have jumped on those lurkers. Even though he would have lost a whole bunch of Stalkers, but I'll gladly trade some Stalkers out if I can get 6 or 7 lurkers, because the rest of the army was defending against the Stalker hit squad. And yeah, Stalker hit squad is nice, but obviously it's a lot better to have like 5-6 charge lords on the other side of the map, because they ravage things a lot quicker. But where I was going with the story is that I do think that even though Classic lost the game, I think he played very well, because he had a very rough start, right? The Archons and the War Prism really didn't do much for him. He was down a base, and he was down like 18
I know
workers.
what you're saying. C'est la vie, right? Just
No, he absolutely made the best of it, you know? Like losing that game from the position that he was in and the rough early game that he had, I think that's acceptable. I still felt he played very strong in the mid phase.
All right, we'll see if he can get a good opponent here. And the next map is going to be Overgrowth. Isn't that the map on which... What happened? ByuL, he had a game recently. I know ByuL on Habitation Station, by the way, loves to take the goal base. On Overgrowth, just watch some of these games, but I can't recall exactly.
Just take the goal as well. Always take the goal.
On Overgrowth, it's a lot less encouraging for sure, I think.
Like, I think there's a good chance that Classic will do the same build, because I kind of feel that his build is a lot better on Overgrowth than it is on Vani. You know, like it's slightly smaller. There's a good chance that your War Prism RS is a little bit more successful, and the Stalker follow-ups, it just all works a little bit better on Overgrowth, because force fields can definitely play a bigger role on that map than it does on Vani as well. So if he goes for the same build, absolutely don't mind it, and I think it's going to be a lot harder for ByuL. But I also think that there's a good chance that ByuL is going to be like, no, I'm not doing the exact same thing. I'm going to be very crazy this time. We saw Lenok with mass link floods and stuff, and I think that stuff can work very well.
Actually, like especially given how his starts really didn't do much. I think Classic did fantastic last game. Imagine if he gets a favorable start here, he might be able to power through. That's kind of what happened in the qualifiers. Like he played a couple Zergs and he really like just kind of ran through them, made units, went across the map, killed them right out. And we know Classic's a big fan of Oracles. I would love to see some Oracle action out of him here. He's a great pilot.
We saw Hero early today. He was one of the only players that I saw open up with a couple of adapts and then go double Stargate, and that's like my favorite style of Protoss. Like
look where he took him.
Sorry?
Look, first player out of the tournament.
But he should have won that game on Whirlwind. Like there was like absolute. You said it as well on the cast. There was no way for him to lose that game on Whirlwind.
There was one way.
Yeah, the night as queen. That was like the only way though. Like, but it was going so well for him, and that just shows that I think it's a very powerful style for Protoss, and I hope to see more of that this tournament.
All right, I think we're ready here. Let's jump into game number 2. We're going to be playing on Overgrowth, and starting in the bottom left-hand side of the map, it's of course, as the Red Zerg, ByuL.
Of course, if you guys just joined us, you're watching the Intox 3 Masters Day 1. The winner of this series will go up against Dark, so congratulations to whoever it may be. Over here on the right top side, looking in the main base of our blue Protoss, it is Classic.
Nexus first.
ByuL, has he been playing any ladder? Is he one of those
Does Classic get the gateway down the ramp right now? Most likely not, in which case... Oh, actually, that's going back down.
If he's going next... No.
Oh, he's going to get it. All right.
Scout.
He's not dead yet.
No, absolutely.
If he was saving for the Nexus, he would have been in a lot of trouble. He's even going to scout behind it, so...
I think if you go for a Nexus, the best thing you can do is drop a Forge right after that. I think they will still have enough time.
I mean, on this map, it's not too hard to get the wall with not that many buildings, so maybe you can defend, like maybe even pull probes if you have to.
Yeah, there are multiple ways, right? You can try to defend with probes and zealots, but I like to destroy down the Forge. If there's no gas, then the Forge is very good. If there is gas, then Gateway is probably better.
Oh, that was sick.
Nice.
Hides away for a second, and all those links are going to hatch.
Pop. Oh, you gotta check. He didn't check.
No, he knows.
Okay,
he knows. Like, yeah, it's Classic, mate.
Yeah, okay. I guess he didn't see it. He saw there was no hatch and stuff. So the first Zealot's gonna get chrono boosted out immediately. So that's gonna be the single Single gap in a wall, correct? On the left side of the cyber core?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can be closed by one Zealot, then he's probably going to get an Adept and say, well, I'm getting my Nexus not too late, given all things, staying alive, and I'm going to have my tech earlier than you don't have gas.
Yeah. He's actually maybe going to buy some time here with this.
Actually, I was expecting a pylon here. That's weird. He maybe overreacted a little bit. That's such a Brood Ward-esque thing to do, by the way, like bring probes and a Zealot.
He's got 22 workers already, so I think it's okay. Just don't lose all these probes.
Well, I mean,
that
like,
would be silly.
he could have just put one Zealot in the wall, right, and then get an Adept behind this. This is a bit weird.
Yep. As long as he doesn't lose too many probes, I don't mind it. He's buying time for the second Zealot, and the second Zealot will pop, and this is probably the moment to just go for it. Make sure you don't lose that Gateway. That would be a bloody shame. Gateway's starting to run a little low, so these Zealots are going to fight the Lings now. One Zealot is not doing anything. Todd, that's you! While I'm battling it out over there, you're just standing in the corner.
I don't know about that. Maybe it's the opposite. And those Lings actually going to deal with these Zealots. Kill the second one. What is going on? Classic.
Traitor Zealot. Man, that Zealot, that was not a bro at all. But in the end, the Gateway does survive, so that's the most important thing.
I will have my revenge with an Adept across the map.
Yeah, there's no Zergling speed, so there's a lot of potential for one Adept. We saw Hero earlier today on Newkirk. He did so much with one Adept.
Yeah,
like,
I mentioned it too. I was like, my Adept just like kind of dies and does nothing, but like his Adept was like
5 kills.
James Bond,
yeah.
taking on like a lot of villains and killing everybody.
These two.
He wasn't even. He was like. What's that movie like? Wick, John Wick or something? Like literally wrecking everybody in the most like unlikely way. But Twilight Council now on the way. I was thinking Stargate maybe out of Classic after this opener, but no.
Maybe he goes for Resonating Glaives and 2 more gates and then Stargates. I think it's fine now after the way that this game has opened up. No, he's going to drop
It's going to be the Dark Shrine opener here again.
Okay.
Actually, if he was going to go for Resonating Glaives, I think maybe multiple Stargates is like the follow-up that we see a lot of the time in these situations. Just because you can bank a lot of gas.
Yep, and you force out so many units already with your Resonating Glaives. Mothership Core gets 1 kill, almost gets the second one. Make sure you don't lose it, and he does not. Nice scout, at least he knows what's up. There is the Dark Shrine. In the old days we would be like, Dark Shrine! But obviously it's very, very
that's the most obvious, by the way, Dark Shrine, now that he overcharged an Overlord. That will get away.
Always feel sad when you overcharge for an Overlord and you don't get it.
ByuL can fly right back in, actually, now that the overcharge is gone.
36
that's so funny.
rounds already, yo, and I'm a little bit shocked by this. It's 4 minutes into the game and a 6 worker lead for Zerg this fast. When, you know, while speed was relatively late, meanwhile Queen goes on a little adventure. That's a few more workers than I expected ByuL to be ahead after this opening, because it was still a 12 pool.
Yeah, things are looking pretty good, I think, right now for ByuL with the way he handled things. Like, if he's able to drone up
the tech is
well
the
now
issue,
and
right?
then get the roaches at the last second, but just enough that he's going to be able to deal with the DTs. Especially like last game, this opener, remember, did absolutely nothing. He sniped a roach one. Come on, that's like, this building is free.
Hey man, it's a drone as well.
Please.
Alright, so Layer is on the way. The only downside for ByuL because of his opening is that his tech is a little bit delayed, but he will already throw down the spores. Doesn't waste a second. Some Zerg players like to play with fire and be like, no, I get my spores like when the prism is halfway across the map, because that meant that my drones collected like 74 more minerals. But it's very risky and ByuL is not taking any risks at all. They finish up 7 roaches. That should be more than enough.
So not 2 Archons. He's just going to be 4 DTs again there from Classic to try and snipe some stuff.
I think he's banking on the fact that the Layer is not done yet, so there is no Overseer. And maybe he can just drop them on top of the Spore, but the roaches are here again. Man, ByuL is playing fantastic so far. Of course, the winner of this series still has to go up against Dark, so you know that's never going to be easy for anybody. The Dark Templar is going to slice away at 1 roach. Gotta be careful. Warp Prism takes a lot of damage. Nope.
Oh!
Nope.
He gets away.
6 HP.
Man,
Just
I would have panic dropped and turned around. Oh, accepted my fate here.
Should not go back with that Prism. Not even let the shields regenerate.
Oh, I'm liking this. Resonating Glaive. So it's going to be Immortals with mass Adepts all in behind this, and the fact that there is no third base starting right now. ByuL might be able to get a whiff and know that this is coming. And if he only makes units from now, I would say he has a pretty good shot to just win.
I mean, if you look at it, right, 6 minutes and 20 seconds, and Protoss is still on 2 bases, that's a little weird. I mean, this probe is going to sell the story that it wants to expand, and maybe it is going to be a Nexus.
He's droning up more, though. Oh, ByuL, don't do it, bro. He's starting more drones, 6 more in total.
He's got to stop. there's still no Nexus down.
This
so
could be terrible. He's getting so many drones. ByuL has no idea this is coming. He's convinced himself, I think, that Classic's taking a third base.
That's kind of weird though, because it was so late already for a third. 61 drones. You really got to start producing as many units as you can right now, ByuL. He gets the Spire, but I think that Spire is going to be a little too late.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I would cancel that Spire. I don't think it's going to be in time. I'm not sure what he's supposed to make. Just Ravagers again.
Yeah,
like mass Roachling
Ravager.
Ravager.
Ravagers with a lot of Ravager to break these force fields and shoot ByuL to force the Protoss army back as well. And now the first big adept warping is going to be there.
And maybe get the Prism. That's the dream, right? Don't forget that Prism is kind of weak, guys. Yeah, he cancel the Spire.
I think Classic will leave it behind his army to make sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, this force field is going to be key there. And ByuL knows that this is coming now. He's only getting units.
It always happens, Todd. The Prism always dies. It always dies! No! What is he doing? He's morphing above the Spore! Okay, it lives for now. But still. I mean, now his weapons are incredibly delayed and he's going to be so careful.
Trying to land some of these force fields. He's actually running out of force fields there. He might have used some of these too early.
Where did all the other adepts go? Did so many adepts die already? I do feel like this is not going very well, especially now with both Archons dying, and look at these Queens
these
soaking up so much
though,
damage.
Yeah, they're still there, but the other, I guess the mid shield in the Adepts here has been sniped for the most part. He can pick up some of these Immortals, but then that's when the Warp Prism will be exposed if he starts on pulling back towards it. He's dealing with these Ravagers now though, he's Classic.
Those two Big Daddy Immortals are putting in a lot of work. Good micro there, good pickup indeed. Man, actually Protoss is still alive in here. It still has something with this push, but I think the reinforcements going to make this very hard. Now the Spine is going to help out quite a bit as well there. Got to be careful, the Prism.
Yeah, ByuL is not injecting on that third base right now because he used the Queen to defend, so that could be a big deal here.
Oh, it's getting so close. I mean, if the Immortals fall, I really think the Protoss Dream is dead, and one Immortal does fall, but the other one is still alive. Still 52 drones, so even if a couple of drones go down, it's not necessarily the end. Sick execution there by Classic.
Cancel
really
that, yeah.
Look that good.
He's gonna cancel that here. Immortal being pulled back. There is not that many units left here for ByuL. I think he might have overdroned in this game. He's trying to stay alive. And there's actually so many Zerg units here on the way to reinforce, but he just feels like he doesn't have enough to defend anyway.
You gotta be careful with the Adepts though, right? Because the Adepts are not like Stalkers. They don't have that much range, so they can get kited. A few more Queens have popped as well. A lot of Zerg units are on the way. One Ravager does get picked off. It's very, very close here. Will ByuL be able to defend in the end, or is it just too much Protoss?
Yeah, it's such a huge deal that no Queen was injecting for a long time on that hatchery, but now finally it did.
It's just Sentries and Adepts that really doesn't have that much damage. If it wasn't for this one Immortal, this Protoss army would be useless.
Sick micro though from Classic. I don't think too many ByuL have landed here. He's dodged most of those.
Oh my god, I can't believe it. I mean, he's running out of points for them, and there are more and more Zerg units popping out. The Sentries obviously very vulnerable.
No corrosive ByuL ever landed this game, I feel like. This Classic is actually the Automat and 4000.
That Immortal is still alive. I don't know how many kills it has, but I know it's crazy amount. 6 Sentries now. Classic, of course, still on 2 bases. Not that many drones left. More Queens joining in.
And the hatchery is going to be sniped eventually here. It feels like that's unavoidable. Force Fields land. He's going to go for the hatchery.
One hit! It's one hit on the hatch and he's not getting it yet. Maybe the Adepts will be able to
wanted to delay it, I think, for the Broodlings not to be there. Yeah, you get it and then you pull back to make sure the Broodlings expire and don't actually fight.
Cross on the Prism. That's really what you want to go for. Misses it. The Sentry is now very, very exposed. I think that ByuL slowly but steady pushing his army back. There really is nothing left.
Classic should just evacuate. Oh, the Warp Prism goes down. He's still going to trade.
43 kills on the Immortal, by the way. 43, Todd.
That's the Todd Immortal.
44.
I was not that Zealot, I'm that Immortal.
45. It should live. It doesn't live. I think that ByuL's done it. What a sick hold. Very, very, very well done by ByuL. Yes, of course he loses
his third base. Wait, he didn't snipe all Overseers, did he?
There is a chance. I mean,
because he sends 2 DTs on the other side, knowing that there is not going to be any units in position on that third base to make sure he can snipe it.
Okay, you should be careful though. There is 4 Photon Overcharges, so don't lose all your Zerg units now to 4 Photon Overcharges. I guess you can just use corrosive balls in the pylons. That's probably what you want to do. You gotta be careful here. Maybe on
I love how Classic's being patient as well. He just used 1 single overcharge, and those DTs, they could do a lot.
Yep, there is a Spore here, but there are no units, and obviously ByuL's pretty damn broke, so ByuL's gonna lose a couple of units here against these Photon Overcharges.
The Robo's still powered, but if that Pylon dies, the one that's being targeted right now is gonna be unpowered. Immortal comes out just before, though.
He could be overextending. ByuL could be throwing this game here, Todd. Oh, that's
the DTs across the map have killed a lot of drones, 12 in total. They just finally got sniped.
Those are slow warp-ins, by the way, so it's going to take a while before those stalkers join in the fun. But he threw away a lot of supply there. And for what?
And ByuL's taking the gold base now. I think he has identified that like he needs to do something drastic.
I would have loved to see him take that with the 65 army supply he had before that attack dot. He's attacking a broke 2-base Protoss. I mean, there was only 4 army supply, but there was a Mothership Core, and we all know that represents a real army. What a sick game, I love it.
I guess Classic will want to expand as well because of his walker counts, on which he's way ahead.
His long distance mining will be pretty useful though. Maybe the DT can snipe this hacks? No, there are 2 overseers.
Woo. Stalkers are going to be sick though, because Zergs has like a low army count that's like not that fast, so they can have like a lot of mobility, snipe a bunch
There's no
of
blink
stuff.
though. That makes Stalkers
Oh yeah, he
pretty
doesn't
bad,
have blink,
right?
that's right. It was only resonating glaives that
Yeah.
he made.
That's an expensive loss there. Classic does warp in and access. Power of the gold base. 26 drones, but that's pretty much all he needs because he's only going to have 1 fresh base anyway. The main is super dry. And
That's a gold base though. It's going to be some sick income in a second.
A lot of blinks. Maybe throw it on a Bane.
And ByuL's droning back up. I think he realized he's going to be taking a 3rd base much earlier. Like he spots the 3rd base of Classic on the way now. He must know that he's behind on the working count. So I think his plan is just to catch up.
But he should take 1 more
and
base
make
then,
sure
right?
he has way too many Ravager for Classic to be able to deal with. Because against this ideally, you'd like to have a couple disruptors to blow these guys up. But it's such a low econ game that I don't think Classic should be able to reach those guys anytime soon. And even if he did, then ByuL would have maybe another base or something.
Yeah, don't you feel that ByuL needs 1 more base if he makes extra drones? Okay.
He's taking it now.
Yeah, there we go.
Just started it, so...
Okay, makes sense.
Really nice play here and transitions from these guys, from like I guess all the crisis management here that they had to go through in this game.
2 Dark Templars are going to be trying to be annoying him, but there is an Overseer, so you got to be very careful. Classic is obviously not in the position to lose any unit because he doesn't even have 1 base up and running now. If he can get a cancel on this one very fast with the DTs, that would be sick. As Overseers are a little bit out of position. He's going to go for it.
And the music's getting epic as well, man.
Solid Snake and Splinter Cell together for the first time. Here they go. Oh, man.
Here we go. It's you and me.
They're actually not getting much done.
There's still that 1 spore, but as long as he can kill a lot of drones there, this might be worth it. And I think ByuL's just gonna kind of run around and evacuate for now. War Prism can obviously help. The exfil. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Careful, the Overseer's coming. You don't want to lose the DTs.
Oh,
so
man.
low on HP. He picks up one.
Classic he's very patient with this, way more than most people will be.
Couple of Ravagers on the other side. You gotta be careful. No more dropping those DTs now. 46 workers against 46 workers still after this insane 2-base all-in that we saw that lasted for minutes.
But ByuL should have more income. Oh, there we go, Robo Bay.
I like it.
I think maybe Classic needs to take the gold base and kind of turtle. Like it feels like whoever camps and gets a good engagement, if the opponent attacks into them, is going to be favored. But ByuL's army right now on paper, if they meet down on the map, should be better.
I mean, what do you
force
think?
field, like he's really going to negate these force fields, right?
You know what I really wouldn't have hated either? I mean, I am absolutely a fan of the second Robo and the Robo Bay, don't get me wrong. That's what I said in the previous game. But I even think like Stargates wouldn't have been bad, you know? Get a couple Void Rays out. There's really no anti-air at all.
You don't think that with the economy of ByuL, he could just go into Hydralisk and then like keep in
true.
mind Ravagers against air, like.
But if he doesn't,
I've lost with Mascarius against Ravagers, man.
No, I think this is a better choice, obviously, but you know, ByuL is obviously not thinking about Stargates now, so it could have been as a surprise. The double Robo is definitely.
Yeah, lots of banelings being made. I think ByuL might just attack, knowing that he has a 4th base or like I guess 4th base, so to speak, and more economy earlier. He might be guessing that Classic will take another base and go into Disruptor, so he's like, I'm not going to give you the time to go for that. You're going to have force field, but I can't cancel those out. So what's going to be great on the ground? Mass Baneling. And if ByuL attacks with this massive army of Ravager and Baneling, it's just so hard to hold. It feels like you need like an infinite amount of Archons, basically, which in this game, I don't think Classic is going to have. He's not even going to have that many. He has 1 right now.
I like the fact he's getting Blink too. You mentioned that earlier. I think Blink is very useful in these sort of, I would still call it low eco situations. I mean, 50 drones split over 2 bases basically is really not that much anymore.
Oh man, these move outs make me so nervous from Protoss. Oh, he brings the Mothership core. Okay, I was going to mention that.
Shoot!
Oh!
Why is he not shooting? He could have gone for the dream shot. Always shoot that. Always pull the trigger. And that's going to be annoying maybe at the 5th base. But I mean,
I was going to make a joke, but
if you have double Robo I don't think there's any need for you to be this aggressive right now. Maybe he doesn't know. Oh, he's faking. Okay, he's trying to fake him out with
A couple of hallucinated Archons in those fights actually would be really nice. Oh my god, this is like such an unfair game of dodgeball here.
Well, he did get hit.
It's non-stop micro.
So he's having fun with it as well. That's awesome. To
Oh,
see
a couple units are out on creep though. I think ByuL was trying to catch these.
Gotta be careful. More crossing balls.
I think he wants the army of Zerg to be out of position there with his Prism to then attack into the gold base.
Yeah, maybe get the high ground, you know. It's obviously very hard to attack into a Protoss army with Disruptors. At the same time, ByuL's gonna go for a counter
this is
here.
perfect. Don't sacrifice the Banelings though.
He will. At least a couple. Oh, that's a big warp and a lot of adapts with obviously still
It's not shading away
waves.
though. That gold base under threats on the other side had to be evacuated here for now. And it's so good to have the one ship.
Oh my god! Close your eyes, my Protoss brothers! That's a lot of that pros. Good split though, but I mean 11, that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Still 31 probes against 42 drones.
Well, gets a couple of Ravagers with his first disruptor shot and drops a couple of safety force fields.
Actually, like he's against a full ground army from the Zerg.
Yeah.
And the 8 disruptors,
Yeah.
there's actually 8 disruptors. That's a huge number to have against a full ground Zerg army. Like if Classic's able to take a good fight.
Yeah, ByuL basically, the only way that ByuL is going to be able to beat this army is with a 6 flank, right? Like a 6 around.
I think he's going to go for it in a second.
That's
yeah.
absolutely what he needs.
But there is force fields available. Like from a Protoss as good as Classic, you can expect perfect force fields and Purification Nova to try and clear this up.
But I still think that's going to be his best call, because if you run into an army with 8 disruptors, that army will just run backwards and keep shooting until the Zerg army disappears. I like the Zergling counterattack as well, just to distract Classic a little bit.
Oh, some of those units are out of position. He's going to send Purification Nova to try and cover his retreats.
Ooh, you got to be careful with that Mothership Core. He is careful with it.
None of these disruptor shots have landed. Oh! Here we go, the caster curse.
SC2 highlights, Johan Merlo part 1. And
I was going to say yes.
Good counterattack, by the way, with those links. 14 more probes have gone down. I mean, this is just a ridiculously sick game, super action-packed. I mean, who's going to take it, Todd? The Protoss army is bigger, but it has a lot of disruptors. So
does he have a recall?
Yes, yes. Oh, not anymore!
Oh wow, he's actually trapped there. And ByuL might just try and run in there here. If there is no more disruptor shot and ByuL can get rid of this army, I think he will have won the game. But right now, these are still threatening Banelings.
The Zerg
being sacrificed for not. But there's one Immortal on the right. Actually goes down.
The Zerg army is just being blown to pieces, Todd. There is not much left besides disruptors.
I think Classic has done it.
Yeah.
He's got way more army supply, including disruptors. And
ByuL should make sure there is no mining anymore, and then maybe he can slowly but steady pick off every non-disruptor unit. But I mean, Classic has a base, and Classic can just saturate that base.
He's got 15 probes.
Yep. Here come the Lynx again. The Lynx are going to try to shut down the mining even further. Is there anything protecting these workers? Yep, a couple of adapts. Ah, what a sick game by Classic. I really think ByuL overextended so much after he defended the push. He should have just expanded immediately. Maybe ByuL feels like this is his last chance. Just jump on this army. But I mean, there are so many disruptors. There's an Immortal in the mix. Ooh, gotta be careful there. GG! Classic with a sick victory on Overgrove. Wow.
These are some great games here between these two. You know, I was hyping this series and I was like, you know, we're going to see fireworks and stuff. And this is exactly what happens in Classic. After doing well given the circumstances in Game 1, I think in Game 2 really completely came into motion, gained some momentum, and eventually went into disruptors, which is, I think, what he should have done in Game 1 as well. And this time used them very well. It's so funny. Like the one moment I was like, none of them has done too much damage yet. I think he had like the biggest detonation I've seen like almost ever of one of these disruptors.
No, it was a sick game. This is normally whenever a game finishes, it's very easy to recap it, right? It's like, you know, this could have gone different. There were so many moments to talk about this game. You know, first the decision for the 2 base all in, then the sick Warp Prism micro, because I really felt that Prism was gonna die almost immediately, but somehow it didn't. He kept it alive for the longest time. Big Daddy Immortal, 45 kills, he stood alive, but then it still felt that the game was over. It was 60 army supply against like 18 or 20. But I really felt that ByuL, instead of putting all his money into and resources into the attack, he should have expanded immediately. And he just threw away too many units. Like 4 photon overcharges is deadly. And Classic is obviously a very good Protoss. He's not going to use the obvious photon overcharge pylon, let it die, and then use the second one. Like he used it very well.
The defense was very good for sure. Like getting Stalkers as well was the right choice. Most Protosses, I think they might have made the mistake of getting Adepts, which wouldn't have been able to attack from behind the wall. Not Classic. No. He made the exact amount of the units that he needed
Yeah.
and the right units. So we're going to be headed into game number 3. It's going to be on daybreak between these two here to decide who advances onto the winner's match.
Man, what a game. We had a couple sick games earlier today with Zest and Linong, but this one was sick as well.
You know what's missing in the series?
Base rate.
Stargates and carriers, bro.
Well, Daybreak is
What better map than Daybreak to do it? Starting in the top right-hand side of the map, it's of course classic.
Yeah,
The Chintos.
I believe we missed the introduction of ByuL, who's of course a Zerg in the left bottom side of the map. But you're right, Todd, that's the only thing we haven't seen yet. We saw the Dark Templar row opening twice now, and it's really not putting Classic ahead at all. So come on, Classic. Give the fans what they want. Be a people's champion.
If Classic is the Chintos, am I the Nostos?
I can't answer that.
And what
Todd.
are you? The Bibetos?
Wow. How creative.
You mad?
Obviously. No, not at all, man.
Alright, pull
I'm a
first
big
here.
fan. I'm a big fan of Bieber, Todd.
I mean, it's
I'm
easy
not-
to be a fan of yourself. Alright, pull first from the Zerg player here. Making sure he plays safe, hiding the drone around the natural. And from Classic, we've seen a lot actually. That seems to be his go-to build. Pylon down the ramp and then gateway down there, making sure he's safe, scouting right after. No, not too much Nexus first shenanigans here out of Classic.
Almost no Pro-Prolos players go Nexus first these days, which I'm very shocked by.
Hero did a couple times during the qualifiers when he played against Zerg and did pretty well, I think, with it.
I think especially on a map like Funny, I almost see no downside of going Nexus first. But
Yeah, I think Hero did it on Whirlwind and I don't remember.
Whirlwind is risky because there is that 33% chance that you're super dead.
As some people like to roll the dice, you're one of them.
That's true. It's a beautiful game. StarCraft, that is. Crap's not, guys. Crap's not. A simulator being wiped in.
Come on, show me that Stargate one time, Classic.
I wouldn't mind opening up with the Twilight just for Resonating Glaive. Or even if he does the Pig build, you know, let Pig have his moment. Let him open up with Charge and 2 more gateways. I'll be very
Please.
happy too. Hey.
That was so sick. Like Pig was like, how to beat Zerg without going Stargate in carriers. And then I watched the VOD and he's going Charge, but then behind it he was going Stargate in carriers.
No, like the title of the video was Charge is the new Glaives.
It was?
Yeah, I believe that's what the title was.
I made fun of him for it and then he said he picked the wrong replay. It was meant to be the one where he didn't have Stargates. That's so funny.
That's a cool build, but once again, I would love to see any Twilight opening, whether it's Charge or Glaives, and then a few more gateways, and then some Stargate play. Would be so sick. I just love my Stargates. I think the 1-gate Stargate... I also like the way that Hero played it. Once again, I know Hero lost, but I still thought it was cool, just some gateway pressure into Stargates, and he got himself in really sweet positions. Sometimes thought we shouldn't only look at the final result, you know. He got himself in a great position, and that's something that he can work with.
That's called being too result orientated, which is not the best thing.
We'll see. We keep a close eye on that production tab, of course.
I want to see some carriers no matter what here. So Classic, even if he opens with something like Resonating Glaives here,
I like this. Thought.
he was gonna have perfect wall.
No. There's a small gap
Oh,
on the
yeah.
south side of the Cybercross.
Even if he opens like this, then going into double Stargate is
Yeah.
still very good behind this. And then you can go into Phoenixes, add Void Race later, and then go into carriers down the line, which, I mean, this is like the best map for it, or one of the best maps for sure, just because you can camp a lot more easily on 2-3 bases, get cannons if you need to, and then once you have those carriers and Mothership, it becomes a new game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is also, I think, my favorite way to go into Stargate. Just because with the Resonating Glaives opening, you're going to be able to force out a lot of units, keep the Zerg on low economy, and obviously the power of Stargates is to play against the low eco Zerg. Because Phoenixes will always be able to do some economic damage, Oracles will always be able to do some economic damage.
I think Classic used that build against Solar in StarCraft and lost to Hydralisks attacking him. But like we said, you should never be result orientated. Like obviously a lot of things can happen in the game. Just because you lose one time doesn't mean the build is bad. That would be like playing poker and losing one hand with aces and being like, oh, I'm never going to play this hand ever again. Like,
there we go, Todd. There we go. We ask and we have received. It's Glaives into double Stargate. Could be Phoenixes for +1. Could also be 2 Oracles, then into Phoenixes, the way that Hero did it. But let's focus on the Adepts first, because these Adepts represent a very real threat. There are no Bailings yet, Todd. There are no Roaches either. So these Adepts can actually do some very serious work. Okay, there's a lot of
Yeah,
links.
there's quite a few links.
Yeah.
Classic shades up against the wall though. He's definitely going to shade with the links being out of position. He's going to stop on sniping a lot of drones and can start shading from one base to another here. Even though there are links. Oh, actually he gets a good surround.
I would cancel this actually. I would stay here. He's going to go into the main. A few more links there. He's going to be able to do some serious
you don't
work
want
here
to
as
trade
well.
against Zerglings here. You want to get as many drones as you can. So he's going to keep on shading all over the place.
He's getting quite a few drones already. I'm happy with his opening if I was a Protoss player. 9 drones, a lot of links. He's ahead in workers. Remember in the previous game he was down 6-7 workers. Now he's up 7 workers. This old school opening,
This was
still
sick.
got it.
And this is so encouraging to go into carriers now, by the way. Even though he's going Phoenixes right now, like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a fleet beacon behind this. Already having glaives as well. Like keep in mind, if Zerg goes mass Hydralisks, he has glaives and can go at depths. Those slaughter Hydralisks.
You know, I have to say one thing as well, Todd. You know what also would be sick?
+1.
Yes, that absolutely, but there's something else.
I don't know.
The Dark Shrine. Look how low eco ByuL is right now. I think a Dark Shrine would be sick to deny a potential fourth base.
Oh, but he does have Lair.
But he has no anti-air, so the Phoenixes can kill the Overseer. I don't think
That's
he's going to
next level meta, Roddy. Come on.
SOS
Nobody
did
would think about this.
No, SOS did it on New Gettysburg, and Snoot gave me the... Oh, Nidus Network. So ByuL has obviously been watching that other game. Okay.
I think if you're that far behind, it's just you kind of have to go for this. Like nobody wants to lose to mass carriers, Kev. If you have to lose to carriers, it might as well be when you try to kill them early on before there were too many.
Well, to go back to your point, the +1 air weapons would be very sick, because Phoenixes are so much better against Queens if they has +1 or not. I wonder if Classic is going to pick up on it, and if he thinks that's a lot of Queens.
In the game that we saw earlier, Hero against Kuzira, I really feel like what made this so difficult to hold was the fact that he hadn't seen the Nidus coming, and in this case, I don't think Classic has seen it yet.
You might see it soon though. Yep,
okay, he's going to start pylons for overcharging that location. That's going to be very important and could make a big difference. I'm actually surprised.
He has force fields as well. I think this is great for Classic. I really think this is great for Classic. You can lift up a couple of Queens as well.
Where are the overcharges? To be honest, there's not that many Zerg units. This might have been a little bit premature here from ByuL, who's not going to transfer too many units through this. He's just like a meat grinder.
It's a massacre indeed. These Phoenixes doing some very serious work. All the Queens die. This Nidus will die. And the Overlord gets picked off as well. And now suddenly, ByuL is in a lot of trouble.
I wonder what Classic's thinking. He's like, that was the best you got? Like, this kills 0 units, mate.
He's like, was that a fake? So many.
What's the transition out of Nidus into losing everything? Another Nidus.
But he has no anti-air, and the Phoenix count is so damn high.
Like,
+1 air weapons.
I'm surprised at how bad this looked, actually. Like, there was nothing coming out of these Nidus except a couple Queens that died instantly.
I mean, there was a lot of Protoss DPS there with the finals, with the potent overcharge. I love the way that Classic played. What a remarkable comeback by Classic in this series.
Okay, how happy are you there is +1 on the way?
Yeah, no, incredibly happy. I just want to see Dark Shrine as well, and then I'm done for today.
Drop the mic and leave.
Yeah, I have one more cast, but I won't do it. Look, sorry, Sean, my work is done here.
Okay, Classic's actually a bit out of position here against this one.
So many Phoenixes, don't thought. This many Phoenixes, it cannot die. He can lift everything. He's got +1 soon. Potent overcharge as well. The Adept's doing some work, getting 1 Queen there. That's very nice. Look at these Phoenixes.
There's just so much Protoss here to try and clean this up. Phoenixes. A good bit of energy overcharge is being used as well to help against these roaches, and ByuL's supply is going to plummet very, very quickly here.
Do you even lift, bro? Yes, he does. So many Phoenixes.
Yeah, it's not even like ByuL has a good gas income and can go into like a lot of infestors to land the Roddy Fungal on 30 Phoenixes.
I'm not ready for I'm not ready to cast that yet, though. I'm still recovering from it happening. I mean, like, it looks like ByuL's doing some fancy stuff here, guys, but we'd be lying if we tell you this is very close. Classic has a hammerlock on this game. GG. Classic wins the series. Todd, if you would have told me after that 2-base all-in filth on Overgrowth and Big Daddy Immortal fell with the 45 kills, you would have told me, like, yeah, I think Classic is still going to win this series 2-1.
You could have given me 20-1.
Yeah, I would have said you're crazy, mate. Like, I would have said that's absolutely insane. There is no chance. What a sick comeback by Classic in this best of 3. And that means we got Classic versus Dark.
Oh man, it's going to be sick.
Yeah, I love it.
The 2 previous teammates from SK Telecom. ByuL, he will face Gyeonggi.
Yep.
That's a cool matchup as well, especially with how well Gyeonggi played against against Dark earlier. I wonder how that's gonna go, but yeah, really nice games that we're getting today, man. I'm learning a lot too. Like I want to do these builds, but I feel like I would butcher them and lose anyway. But it's good to see though.
I think especially the PVZs have delivered today.
Yeah.
Even on the B stream and on the main stream, we had a couple of sick games as well and sick comebacks. I am absolutely loving it. So I believe we're gonna head to a very small break. What do you know what the next game is going to be? The winners match. So, winners match of Group D. All right. Well, that's a sick match as well. If you play Terran, ByuL versus Maru, it really doesn't get much better than that, guys. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.